welcome to Conversations with Anasa. I'm so happy to see everybody this morning. So we had a new link and it's taken a little bit of time to get everybody up. Can you hear okay? Can you hear? Good. Okay, let's start with meditation. So take a deep breath in and put your attention just below your belly button. Take all your attention there as you take a deep breath in. And then hold your attention there as you exhale and feel for the space in between the breaths. This is the sacred space. And just stay with that experience for a little bit so you get some confidence about that space. And you may feel your attention trying to pop up between your ears again, but continue to hold it down below your belly button. And feel for the sensation of all your attention there. Then when you're ready, drop your attention even lower to just in front of the tip of your tailbone. And again, feel for that space in between the breaths. And allow your body to relax as you feel all the energy draining out of your mind and your head. And hold your attention in the tip of your tailbone. And just observe whatever you see happening, whatever you're feeling. And you might notice that the space between the breaths starts to get longer. If you notice your mind starting to wander, just pull it back. No problem. Now gently allow your attention to rise to your solar plexus. Breathe into that space just below your rib cage. And again, feel for the space between the breaths. Both at the end of the inhale and at the end of the exhale. And hold your attention in your solar plexus. If you feel a tightness there, just send some warmth, some emotional warmth toward that place. Sense of nurturing and reassuring. A sense of allowing. When you're ready, gently allow your attention to rise up to your heart center in the middle of your chest. Again, feel into the space between the breaths as you hold your attention there. Now take your attention to your throat center. Feel into the space between the breaths. Gently allow your attention to rise to the third eye behind and between your eyebrows. Again, feeling for the space between the breaths. You may begin to feel the energy rising up and out the top of your head, coming down in 360 degrees around your entire body. And then coming up your central channel. Now gently pull your attention back into your body, holding it inside in the awareness we've just cultivated. As you open your eyes, still holding your attention inside. We welcome your questions. How may we serve this morning? Yes.
Hello, I'm very excited to be with you this morning. Please forgive me closing my camera. I am a lifelong yoga practitioner and doing asana pranayama during the session. Thank you.
This is no problem. No problem. We don't mind camera on or off. It's up to your comfort level. And we have a hatha yoga practice too. Andrew, anything?
That was a while.
Brenda?
I'm just reminding them that their voice, name, or image will never be part of the recording.
Question, this is Paul.
Hi. I'm not going to say your name, but
Hey,
please tell me, what can we do today?
So, breath. Breath is an amazing thing because, I mean, your body can breathe you. And then, in meditation, as in just now, you're
Yes.
talking about the space between the breaths. And so either your body can breathe you or you can breathe your body. And so that getting that balance, for lack of a better word, is, and I've been doing meditation for a while and hatha yoga and all that, but that's always been something that it's always kind of a something I have to get through. Balancing, allowing your body to control the breath, and then your intention to control the breath. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, we talk a lot about allowing because there's so many ways to engage this. Breath is one of the ways that we cleanse our body of toxins. And so there is this process of taking in and taking in what's needed, what's nurturing, what's cleansing, and exhaling what's no longer needed, releasing any toxicity. And the stillness is the space in between those breaths where the potency resides. And so as we deepen our breath, our access to that space between the breaths expands. But it's not exactly holding the breath. It's holding our attention in that space. Everything that happens really in our internal and then subsequently our external life happens a lot because of our intention. So when we take our intention and attention, which are linked, when we take our attention out of our mind and into this subtle sacred space, then we're growing our awareness of that. And so we link our intention to that growing awareness. And then we begin to, we know you already know this, but then we begin to have access to where we're putting our attention inside of ourselves. And how our intention is informed by that. For example, when there's a tightness in a particular energy center in our body that we become aware of, or a restriction in the breath, then we can take our attention there and begin to nurture that experience into a deeper release, the same way we would try to release an injured or restricted range of motion in our physical body in our hatha practice. We can do the same thing emotionally and then deeper spiritually as we access the deeper parts of our, for want of a better description, we'll call it the physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional mechanism that makes up the human body through all its levels of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. All of these levels are, of course, interlinked into one expression of a human being. But the breath is unique because it unites all of these fields into our experiential awareness. And when we take our attention inside and focus in these energy centers, we have a different experience of ourselves as a human being. We've taken ourselves out of human doing and into the realm of human being. And from that human beingness, we can nurture ourselves into a new harmony. And we can begin to release the pent up or jammed up experiences of decades of restriction with our attention in this deeper part of our beingness. So whenever a restriction comes up, we would encourage nurture rather than struggle. And the first way into any resolution is acceptance of resistance. There's always resistance when we try to make a change. So the first thing is to acknowledge what is. And feel into how to nurture whatever that part of us that might be resisting. Nurture it into just a little bit more motion, a little bit more freedom. And much of what we find in ourselves are places where we, for want of better language, we become for ourselves the accepting, loving parents. You know, we overcome the perceived insults to our beingness as children by nurturing ourselves into harmony. Now, that's a gross oversimplification, but it's a place to start when we hit resistance is to first accept what we experience. As what is. And then try to expand the range of motion as we would in any dimension, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Because our experience is that health and range of motion are synonymous. Also a gross oversimplification, but within the constructs that we're given, we can gauge our health from the range of motion that we have in the physical, the mental, emotional, and spiritual. And range of motion, we can think about as how we are capable to respond in any given moment to the stressors that come into our field of awareness. We hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
How may we serve further? Andrew. Oh, sorry.
Can you address the concept of fear as being something that's, could be a hindrance to spiritual growth, but also a catalyst for spiritual work?
So the question is how to use fear as a catalyst for spiritual work rather than as a compression to everything that we're trying to experience. Is that your question? So it's a really good question because we all have the experience of fear in various ways in our daily life. And usually we were taught fear at a very young age as a way of teaching us to not harm ourselves as very young people. And then, our peers and elders sometimes used it to control us. In ways that maybe weren't the most beneficial. So we took on patterns of oh, in the worst case, distrusting that which is our source, mistaking the source of our very life for the parent. And so we, in the worst case scenario, reject our connection to the very divinity that we seek out of fear that it will harm us. And this is the crux of the deepest fears that we run into in ourselves, is that we don't trust that which is the source of everything that is. Because deep down, no matter how hard we try to deny it, we know that our life is finite. And every fear is essentially based in fear of death. Ultimately, that's what we come to. So every fear is about fear of death. And we fear death because we don't know what happens. And yet at the same time, nobody gets out of here alive. So this is our essential struggle. So how do we address that fear? And this is really the essential part of why we practice spiritually, why we go inside and practice releasing and expanding into that which is our source. Because really what we are working for is to trust that. Because that's what made us. And when we really feel into that, there's nothing to fear. Ultimately, what we experience is that thing that made us, it's not a thing, that source energy is pure raw love itself. It is creative energy. We understand that we're here for the ride. And that understanding is what we call allowing, what many spiritual techniques call surrender. We reject the verbiage of war image in that moment, although there is some element within a human being of struggle. But it's not a war. It's an allowing ourselves to die. And we experience many, many deaths and rebirths through our lifetime. Relationships die, people around us die, careers die. All these things are born too. We experience birth and death all the time in our lives. Every crisis in some ways is a death and a birth. And so we get experienced at this, and it's very, very helpful to use these experiences as moments to cultivate surrender, experiences to cultivate allowing what is, and a deeper awareness so that we can participate with a bigger range of motion in these changes and use them to expand our awareness and experience and participation ultimately in our own lives. Because greeting something with fear is setting up a boundary in advance. It's like setting walls around us so that we limit our range of motion and our experience. Whereas using the breath to embrace what is, to allow what is dying to die so that the new can come forward, expands everything for us and opens us up to new possibilities. Fear tends to make it creates barriers to our own range of motion. In whatever dimension we're embracing that fear. So again, as we said earlier, whenever we find these barriers, and fear is a name for one of them, we breathe into it with nurturing, pure acceptance, nurturing and allowing, and we bring our breath, which is the source of life, which is our communication and connection to that which is our own source, into that fear. We take our attention out of our mind, which will magnetize this fear and blow it into whatever castle we want to create in the air. We allow that energy to drain out of our mind and out of our bodies. And we open that knot. It ends up becoming a knot in our beingness. We allow that to open. And generally there's some kind of, because Rebecca's a physician and mental models come, this is kind of a gross thing to say, but these knots are like little pus pockets of infection that has not been tended to, that needs to be cleaned and released and healed so that the range of motion can reassert itself. And so we drain the negative experience from the past. We first acknowledge that it's there. We nurture it into harmony. And very often, a good tool for that nurturing into harmony is Ho'oponopono. Thank you for showing me this knot of fear. I'm sorry that I haven't seen it before. I'm sorry that it's restricting me from love itself. I love you to the deepest part of ourselves. And we say that into any resistance we discover in every dimension of ourselves. This is the best way. Maybe not the best way. This is the way we know at this time in our sharing with you as something that works over time. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love you. Thank you. Whatever order it comes to us to say, we allow, melt, and release into love itself. These restrictions. And gratitude. We cultivate gratitude for this ever increasing awareness of how to expand our range of motion inside ourselves. And as our life changes, every life our life touches will be changed by that. We don't know who or what or why or when, and we don't need to know. All we need to know is that we do our own work every single day as deeply as we can, as we practice going deeper and deeper, more allowing, more love, more graciousness into our lives. And we witness the miracle of aging and expanding at the same time. Who gets that? What life has that opportunity to become more and more refined? To become more and more love itself as we age? Who gets that? What a gift. And then this incredible gratitude arises. Oh my God. And in that context, greeting death as a life well lived. And many of us on this call have gone through that experience with others, that they were able to allow themselves to dissolve into infinity with the feeling of a life well lived. Having had that experience with another person gives us graciousness itself to meet our own life every single day and the challenges in it as a tool to experience more love. And the price is allowing pain. And, you know, every kind of resistance, fear is a kind of pain. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Does it bring up? Yeah.
And I think you said this, but it seems to me that without that negative emotion, many of us wouldn't actually make any effort to change.
Well, we're not exactly going to say that, but what we will say is that if you look at your own life and the most painful experiences you ever had, and you look at the experiences that you grew the most from, very, very often you'll come to the conclusion that the most painful experiences you ever had and the experiences that you grew the most from were the same. And so that, we kind of rest our case. But at the same time, the point is really this: go toward the pain, go toward the resistance to discover ever increasing access to that which is our birthright, which is pure raw love itself. And that we can call God, Spirit.
Is, saying mantra or going meditating, is that going towards the pain?
So the question is saying mantra, meditating, is it going toward the pain? Pain is something we can't avoid. Doing mantra, meditating, cultivating within and around us the highest experience that we can keeps us from falling into a trap of negativity, dullness, deadness, all the words that go with that. So it does require some effort for us to maintain the growth, the range of motion that we have cultivated, as we must exercise our bodies every day. We must also exercise our spirit in the field of love every day. We cultivate that. We continuously reassert that as a value in our lives, to be as much as we can an expression of that. And it's not a Pollyanna kind of thing where we pretend, but this is what practice is: cultivating this deepest source every single day and holding to it in ourselves. And mantra, meditation, yoga, the embracing of love, Ho'oponopono. These things are all tools that we use to reestablish ourselves in that field. And our commitment to that keeps us going. We create habits. It takes 21 days to make a habit. We create a habit of mantras so that we're taking into our field very deeply this repetition of words that create a very positive environment for us, that create linkages throughout lineage history to very refined energies. This is not, it can become what we call spiritual bypass if we don't engage our pain. If we use it to avoid and cover up, then, that's a, that's a, that's something that can happen. It's one of the dangers. But many of the real pains of human existence, we face no matter what. And in facing that pain, we can use these tools to support us. And sometimes when, we're doing the hard work of these challenging situations, we need these tools just to get through it most of the time. Is that helpful? But yes, any tool can become a limitation if we use it as a form of denial. And, this is one of the reasons that it's really helpful to have other people in our lives that we trust, that we can help inform us, that we're missing the mark. And people generally are pretty good at that. How may we serve further?
Can you speak more about accessing the pain to release the love? Is it a direct correlation? You'll only receive as much love as, or release, or allowing as deep as you're willing to go? But at what point is there a point where it's not safe? Or, because deep pains can be, and again, you're right, we don't want to spiritually bypass them, but is there balance, or is it iterative, or?
We don't have to seek pain. Pain finds us no matter what. Just change finds us. And to a human being, change involves pain. In these tests where they quantify stresses, some of the most beautiful things that happen to people, some of the most beautiful changes that we experience are some of the most stressful. And stress and pain kind of go together. So getting married, for example, everything changes. Everything changes. One of the most beautiful things that human beings do. Very, very stressful, buying a home. everything changes. These things that we do in the world that make their mark, taking a new job, everything changes. Wonderful, big change, high stress. So, we don't necessarily identify these things as a culture as painful. And yet they register on the Richter scale pretty high. So we're really talking about life itself, that every change that we go through, we want to use it to expand our capacity to love as much as possible, which doesn't mean that we become a shallow person and greet everything as though it's a gift. We can still be a serious person and a very productive person and a very loving person. It just means that we are present. We are attempting to be present in this moment, full of nurturing for whatever happens in front of us. Could be as simple as opening up a door for somebody and smiling at them. Could be that simple.
Do we participate in it by defining the stress as good or bad or right or wrong? Because it just is. Like you said, the stress of a wedding versus the stress of a divorce. It's stress. Right? It's change.
And it's both
stress,
opportunity.
And it's both opportunity.
It's always opportunity. So we look for the opportunity in the stress. And sometimes it's as simple as redefining it, that we can understand that what's happening is that, maybe kicking and screaming, we're being pushed in another direction. But seeing it as opportunity gives us a way to breathe through it. Whereas if we see it as failure, then we're judging ourselves, and, it's much harder to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and move forward. And neither one of those descriptions is going to be totally right or totally wrong. There's always some of all of it. And the primary thing is not to forget to care for ourselves, not to reduce ourselves with our own condemnation because things didn't turn out the way we hoped they would. Many times when things happen to us in life, we judge ourselves as failures, when it's much easier if we take it as a course correction. Oh, maybe I don't belong here. There's something better suited to me than this. Every single one of us is a completely unique individual. So it's difficult for us to find mentors that look like us because there isn't anybody. And there won't be. But this deep cultivation of the experience of that which is our source, which is our birthright, which is pure raw love. Cultivating this, we just can't go wrong. And the first person we offer that to is ourself. It doesn't turn us into egomaniacs. It turns us into realists. Because if we don't love ourselves, who is going to? Who? That doesn't mean that, everything that happens in our life, we make everybody around us bow to our will. It's not that at all. It's that we have a kind of graciousness with our own humanity. We allow ourselves to make mistakes as part of our growing process. We apologize as best we can and we move on. We all make mistakes every day, and that's okay. We do the best we can. And we are the best person we can bring to every situation. And if we hold to that, we're doing what we can do. And always we use as our compass the highest best for the whole. That's our compass. The highest best for the whole. And even if we can't see what that is in this moment, we do the best we can. And we ask to be informed when we fall short. We ask inside ourselves to be informed. And we become stronger and stronger in our alliance with pure raw love itself. And when we don't know and we don't understand, we get quiet inside ourselves. We take our attention outside of our brain and into our heart, in the center of our chest. And we ask to be informed of the highest best. And then we allow. That whole time cultivating gratitude. Because who gets to live like this? Who has the time to go inside and ask? We are so blessed in this life. And this life happens so fast in the big picture. So fast. How did we get to be this age? Whoa, how did this happen? So fast. Mm. So much to be grateful for. So on that note, let's meditate again. And in your own time and space, go deeply inside yourself. And we'll sit together in the quiet, sacred space between the breaths. Thank you all so much for coming today. It's been really wonderful to spend a morning with you. Mm. So grateful. Till next week. Oh, there won't be meditation on Wednesday night this week. We're out of town. So nice to see you. Bye for now.